People think power looks like speed and noise, fast cars, loud engines, attention. But real power never arrives that way. Zeus drives something else, a car worth over $3 million, moving at less than 30 miles an hour, and still, when it arrives, conversations stop. No cameras, no engine roar, just silence. The kind that tells you this room just changed hands. Zeus has never shown his garage, because when a collection costs tens of millions, visibility stops being status and becomes a liability. People want to know what he drives, but no one asks. Because in his world, a car isn't transportation, it's access. Some vehicles open doors worth nine-figure deals. Others make you disappear before the meeting even begins. But the real question isn't what he drives, it's who gets erased the moment he arrives. In this video, we're not looking at expensive cars. We're decoding the system they control. And once you see the final pattern, you'll understand why it was built. So most people were never meant to notice it at all. The first car Zeus ever owned was not a supercar. That alone already tells you this isn't a normal story. While others chase speed, noise, and attention, Zeus chose something slower. He chose a custom-built luxury sedan, extended, reinforced, and armored to military-grade standards. A vehicle designed not to be admired, but to be respected. The base price was already close to $900,000, but that was just the starting point. With bespoke interior work, encrypted communication systems, and layered ballistic protection, the real cost climbed past $3 million. Quietly. This car never races, it never revs its engine, it never announces itself. And yet, when it stops outside a building, something happens inside. Voices lower, postures straighten. People who were seated a moment ago suddenly find a reason to stand. Because this car doesn't say I'm rich, it says something far more unsettling. I don't need to explain who I am. In that moment, you don't feel impressed. You feel measured. You become aware of your own position, how small it is, how temporary it feels in comparison. This isn't transportation. It's a moving boundary, a signal that the balance of the room has shifted and you're no longer at the center of it. And once you understand why Zeus chose a car like this as his first statement, you start to realize something more disturbing. If this is what he uses just to arrive, what kind of vehicles does he rely on when he doesn't want to be seen at all? If the first car told you who Zeus was, these next ones tell you something far more disturbing. When Zeus doesn't want to be found. He owns at least two vehicles that don't exist on paper. No personal registration. No public records. No names attached to them, not even his. Each one costs between $1.5 to $2 million, but money isn't the point here. Control is. These cars are equipped with systems that can alter license plates, scramble signals, and disappear from digital tracking in real time. No photos, no event appearances, no accidental sightings. They are never used when witnesses are allowed. These vehicles move through the city like gaps in memory. You don't remember seeing them arrive. You only notice that something has already changed once they're gone. They are reserved for quiet transactions, unscheduled meetings, decisions that are never written down, because writing things down creates history, and history creates accountability. When you hear about cars like these, the discomfort sets in. Not fascination, not admiration, but a cold realization that some systems are designed so you were never meant to notice them at all. Knowing they exist already feels like crossing a line. As if understanding one detail too many places you closer to something you shouldn't be near. Because these cars don't move Zeus through space, they remove him from consequence. And once you understand that, the question is no longer what else does he own, it's what kind of power requires a vehicle that leaves no trace behind. If the previous cars made people uneasy, this one does something different. It makes them stare and then quickly look away. Zeus owns at least one hypercar that exists in a category of its own. Not the fastest in the world, not the loudest, but something far more unsettling. It cannot be bought again. The official price was listed somewhere between $3 and $5 million. That's what people are allowed to know. What they don't see is the private customization, the materials sourced once and never reused, the details that quietly push the real cost closer to 7, maybe 10 million. This car appeared exactly once. One arrival. One moment, and then never again. No repeat appearances, no second photos, no chance to compare. That's when the feeling changes. At first it's amazement, then desire. A sharp, uncomfortable thought. What would it feel like to own something no one else ever could? But that thought never finishes forming, because right after it comes something colder. The realization that Zeus doesn't collect rare things to enjoy them. He uses them to plant a question in other people's minds. If this is the car he lets the world see only once, what else does he own that we were never meant to notice? The envy stays quiet, unspoken, because admitting it would mean admitting something worse, that this level of control isn't about money at all. And once you accept that, you start to wonder what comes after visibility ends completely, when even the question itself is no longer allowed to exist. Not every car in Zeus's garage is meant to move. Some are meant to stop people in their tracks. There are vehicles he owns that no one is allowed to touch. No test drives, no photos, no sitting inside, not even for a second. Not even his own security team has the keys. Each of these cars is valued at over $10 million, yet none of them has traveled more than 100 kilometers in total. They aren't maintained for performance. They're preserved like territory. Standing near them feels different. The air tightens. You become aware of where you're not allowed to be and how absolute that boundary is. These cars aren't protected because they're fragile. They're restricted because they represent something far heavier than luxury. They are statements of ownership without negotiation, a reminder that access isn't earned here. It's granted or it's denied. Nothing about them invites curiosity. They don't ask to be admired. They demand distance, and that pressure stays with you. Because when an object worth millions exists solely to remain untouched, you begin to understand that Zeus doesn't measure power by use. He measures it by how completely something can be removed from everyone else. And once you feel that kind of control, you start to ask a dangerous question. If even his cars are untouchable, what does that make the world around him? After everything you've seen, the armored sedans, the disappearing vehicles, the cars no one is allowed to touch, you would expect Zeus's most important car to be something untouchable. It isn't. The vehicle Zeus uses the most is almost invisible. It isn't the most expensive. It isn't rare. No one points at it when it passes. Its value sits somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000. Ordinary by his standards. But this is the only car Zeus drives himself. No convoy. No security formation, no ceremony, and that's what makes it unsettling, because for the first time there's nothing to hide behind. No armor, no statement, just control exercised so quietly it doesn't need protection. When Zeus arrives in this car, nothing announces him. No one stands up, no room goes silent, and yet, he gets exactly where he wants to go, exactly when he decides to be there. That's when the realization settles in. Slow, heavy. True power doesn't need to display itself. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't even need permission. This car doesn't dominate a room. It bypasses it. And once you understand why this is the vehicle Zeus trusts the most, you begin to see the full shape of the system. Because the highest level of power isn't being seen everywhere. It's being able to move freely without anyone noticing at all. By now, it should be clear that Zeus doesn't own cars the way most people do. His garage isn't a collection. It's a map of power. Every vehicle carries a message, and every message marks a level of control. Some cars announce presence, some erase traces, some draw boundaries no one is allowed to cross, and one moves so quietly that it doesn't need to explain itself at all. Together, they form a system. One that doesn't ask for attention, but quietly decides who belongs, who waits, and who never even gets close. And that's when the thought settles in. Not loudly, but deeply. Because what you drive doesn't really say how rich you are. It says where you stand in the game you're part of, whether you realize it or not. So, the real question isn't about Zeus anymore, it's about you, and the signals you're sending without knowing. If this made you see power a little differently, take a second to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe if you want to keep exploring worlds most people never notice. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next layer.